Star Trek The Next Generation was a show that everybody I interacted with. A show that I started watching when I was a really little kid. Can you believe it's been 30 years Star Trek The Next Generation first
Star Trek The Next Generation was my life.
I really grew up with this show.
My relationship to how I should conduct myself. It was the escape from reality. Welcome to Next Generation's First Generation, where Patrick Delmore and Sascha take a look back into their favorite childhood show, Star Trek The Next Generation. This is where we attempt to reconcile how we felt as children watching the show and looking back as old farts now in our late 30s, almost 40s. Guests, social commentary, and good old-fashioned shade-throwing on our favorite and least favorite episodes. Here comes Patrick and Sascha. Oh, I almost forgot. This is a watch-along podcast, so make sure to queue up your favorite DVD or Netflix, and we'll give you the countdown of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 to basically watch along with the episode. Hello and welcome to another episode of Next Generation's First Generation. I'm your host, Sascha Shouties.
Hey, I'm Patrick Delmore.
And we have a wonderful episode to watch with you, Symbiosis. This episode is Star Trek's first Just Say No episode, which we find kind of interesting. So Star Trek from time to time does like to lean in on social commentary, and on this episode they take on, well, I guess the equivalent of the war on drugs in the 90s, 80s.
Yeah, it's 80s. It's Reagan.
Yeah.
It's Reagan's time.
Mm-hmm. With us we have two guests. We have ourselves Nigel.
Hey, everyone.
And then we have the ever-lovely Gemline.
Hello.
And they'll be here to provide their commentary expertise. And we have special guest star Fire Engine in the background. And he might be making more appearances. We record right next to a fire station, so we apologize. So, this is a watch-along DVD, so make sure to queue up your Netflix or DVDs. We are going off of the DVD today, so we'll give you a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm just going to sit here and twiddle my fingers for about 2 or 3 seconds while you befuddle your remote and get it queued up. You ready? Almost? Not yet? Oh, you got to go to the bathroom. That's okay. All right. You should be ready. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1.
Dave's not here, man. Dave's not here.
So there's the Enterprise, and the light sourcing is all wrong. It really bothered me when we had it on pause. We saw this Enterprise was going towards the sun, yet the right side of the ship was lit up.
I still maintain there's a sun behind it. A bigger sun.
A bigger sun elsewhere, stage right. So apparently there's something going on that they want to look at.
I love that scene where Picard just trails off, so he gets distracted by looking at Wesley.
There's Tasha and Worf sharing the same station.
This was the last episode Denise Crosby filmed of the first season.
Oh yeah, that's right.
The last episode she appeared in with the last one.
Because they filled them out of order, isn't that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, don't see too many of those after a while.
So the sun is, all of a sudden they got
I love this, like,
the
yellow filter.
The other side.
The effects.
That was an amazing eclipse right there.
It's not even an eclipse. They did that on the Enterprise. They put a little dot there.
Now this right here is real solar flare information that they piped into the show.
Oh.
Everyone is just awestruck and just cannot believe what's happening. And Riker, being a trained person who operates and lives in space, has obviously never seen a solar flare before.
300-year-old technology, yeah.
He was not hired for his good looks.
Smoldering stare. Smoldering stare.
Astronauts on, the Gemini and Apollo missions had sun shields on their visors.
Oh.
So they would never get bombarded the way Picard did.
There's that cool lightning effect we see in every other episode.
I think I pushed the wrong button, you guys. Oh, Wesley screwed it up again. We're going to make absolutely sure that it wasn't Wesley. Weird. Hey, check this out. This is a drug episode. It's like, you ever poke the engineering console and like blue stuff happens? It's kind of cool.
Worf is looking a little veiny there in his forehead.
Understandable. Mr. Data.
This is the hair and makeup understudy that did it that day.
Maybe.
Mr. LaForge. Move us in closer. Aye, sir.
Get in there. Check it out.
A cool way to shoot an episode of this, I don't think they ever did, is, when Picard would say Data's name and he would turn around like that. What if they shot it that Picard says his name and when they cut to Data, Data's already anticipated that he's going to be spoken to and is looking at him?
Yeah.
Yeah, no reaction shot from Data, just he's already attentive.
Yeah.
The transmission is coming from a freighter in orbit around the fourth planet.
Now that was interesting. Data is turning his head almost like a dog to understand what's going on. So there's a distress signal coming in from a freighter.
Enterprise. May we be of assistance?
There we go. Oh, there's one of our two actors. These guys here, I can't remember which one it was, actually played in Wrath of Khan.
Well, one of them played in Wrath of Khan. The other one from Wrath of Khan is the guy that's supplying the drugs.
Ah, okay. Yeah. We'll recognize him as soon as he beams on.
So that make them veterans of Star Trek.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Well, the show is really good at recycling its actors.
And remember, Wrath of Khan at this point was only 6 years previous.
So this is episode number 22, directed by Wynn Phelps. Story was written by Robert Lewis. Teleplay was... not Lewis, Lewin, sorry. The teleplay was also written by Robert Lewin, Richard Manning, and Hans Beimler. Sorry, I just kind of had a brain fart there. The music was by Dennis McCarthy, cinematography by Edward R. Brown. The original air date was April 18th, 1988, so I hope your April 18th, 2018 is bright and sunny. We have guest appearances from Judson Scott, Mehhh But, Richard Lineback, and Kimberly Farr. So anyway, what's really interesting about this episode is that the co-executive producer, Maurice Hurley, recently did work on Miami Vice. And so we're going to see a lot of influence from the mixing of two cultures, I guess you could say there, from the 1980s Americana drug culture and Star Trek here. So.
Well, of course, when I was 6 when this came out, my connection to the Miami Vice was that on Sesame Street they had a sketch called Miami Mice.
No!
That's great!
Yeah. And they did several sketches with the Miami Mice.
That was a cool effect we never see again. The magnifying glass going over the view screen.
I want to believe it's the Enterprise cursor.
The cursor? So someone there with a mouse ball trackpad is moving it around?
Well, it's the future you can control with your mind.
How long before it loses integrity? A matter of minutes.
So in a couple of the original series Star Trek novels, Kirk mentions that all of the officers have like an implant for the communicators.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like in their heads.
Oh.
Yeah. That they're given when they join Starfleet. It's really weird. It's never shown on screen. It's just mentioned in a couple of books. I think it was an idea Gene Roddenberry had and he didn't know how to execute visually.
You know, that would be actually, that technology would be very well received today in modern sci-fi. That you had an implant that would communicate with the technology around you.
I mean, it's really the equivalent of having barcodes under your skin.
Yeah, definitely. This guy definitely looks snowed here.
He is very strung out.
There's something wrong with the thing. All I know is that we're gonna die. Yeah, we're gonna die. Can you help us out,
That's
man?
every day. Substance free.
Data's look of concern and
Well, that is a little vague. What is the computer analysis?
I just
computer.
We got one of those, right, Pat?
The computer analysis is, hang on, 7. The analysis is 7. That's the number on the screen.
I've never fully appreciated all of Riker's GQ poses throughout a show until right now.
Oh, did you have an epiphany?
I don't pay much attention to Riker, I guess, until now, and he's just,
Oh,
the
yeah.
GQ pose.
When we were kids, he was just everybody's dad. Yeah, especially once he grew that beard.
True.
Well, before the beard, he was really just... He was fondling the set with his poses.
Yeah.
And just the episode we just recorded previous, I think it was not the one where Wesley went to Tester Academy. He was just doing these long lunges over the tops of chairs. And
You have the necessary tools to realign the
Sorry.
I believe, Captain, we can provide them with a temporary substitute. Our ship's stores contain a coil of the proper type.
so they're just trying to figure out how to help these guys who just can't help themselves.
That's great.
Yeah.
And that'll fix this up.
I imagine they run into problems like this all the time. Because, like, really, we only see episodes about the most serious things that happen to the crew. They must have, little misadventures where it's just tough to communicate with somebody.
You've been in command of this freighter.
Yeah.
Well,
Riker gets his hand caught in a door for like an hour and a half.
his hand's caught. He looks like his hands are cold there, holding him in his armpits. I'm getting future flashbacks of another episode's like, we need stuff to make our ship go.
Yes, very much so.
So I'm kind of losing the plot here. So somebody radioed in, and they all seem a little bit stoned, and nobody can understand them? Is that what's going on? What are they
They
discussing?
can't understand what they want.
Okay.
And the risk is their ship is going to explode.
Oh,
But they're just really casual about it.
okay.
Yes, I think that's best.
So ultimately, they're just gonna beam everybody off the ship, and
It's a lot
there's
of
that
people,
cool
like-
lightning effect there.
I can't maintain a positive log.
Really should have had the transporter engineer work on that, not the chief of security.
Exactly.
But I mean, she needs to be in there.
Absolutely.
She should be standing where Riker is. They have no idea who's coming on board this ship.
Right.
The increased power.
It's worth a try. Captain Sascha, go to your transporter room. Contact me from there. Right, Enterprise. It's right next door. But if you can't get us to your transporter, what makes you think ours will do the job?
I'm going to interconnect them.
I didn't know you could do that.
Hurry! We're
Nothing you'll hear from the captain.
I didn't know you could do that.
This is 24th century tech support.
Yeah.
Captain Tajon, are you there?
I went into the turbo lift, but there's only one door. How do I get to the bridge?
Mark 268.
Sir, the hull temperature of the freighter is passing 3,000 degrees.
That's pretty hot.
Yeah.
That's about as hot as a kiln at
The
Cone.
last 6 of you get on the transporter platform.
I want to say it's Cone 12? I don't know. It's been a long time since I've run a kiln.
How long or how hot does it go?
Oh, it goes high as 22.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's like
Isn't it about 600 degrees or so a cone?
Cone 06 is about 1,800 degrees, and I only know that because that's the only temperature we ever fired at in the ceramic shop. But that has nothing to do with Star Trek, folks. If you want to learn about my career in making coffee mugs, you can email me at nextgenfirstgenpod@gmail.com.
Maybe Sascha will make you a custom coffee mug.
There we go.
That's a cool looking ship there.
Yeah,
and that looks like it's actually looks like it's CGI and not a model.
They are just having a hard time getting out of this first act, so they beamed over their cargo.
Beam those people over now. Do the cargo, beam it to a hold.
I see.
The mystery deepens.
So who would be tech support? Data?
No, one of the engineers.
The freighter is going down.
And who is the tech support for Data, since Data is technically a computer?
So right now, Jordy knows how Data works.
Okay.
And eventually Riker will know how Data works. And I have a sneaking suspicion that Yara has a pretty good idea how Data works.
Might be a prerequisite.
Number one.
Wasn't the idea of Data that he'd be self-sufficient, though?
For the most part, yeah. He does run most of his own diagnostics.
What was that dude in the back doing? He's sitting down.
Yeah.
We hope you're sitting down.
They always... That'd be funny, you beam somebody out at the worst possible moment during waste extraction.
Your cargo. You all would have made.
So, this
Is
guy
that Ian's hearing? No.
Okay.
The guy on the guy on the left, who is that?
That's Mehhh But. That's Mehhh But. That's Kirk's son.
Alright, and
David.
the guy on the right
Was Khan's number 2 man. The blonde dude was Khan's number 2 man in Wrath of Khan.
Alright, so Mehhh But. Now, he passed away...
Like right after this.
Just a few weeks after. March 17th, 1989. So actually, he made it about a little less than a year. I think he was a victim of an AIDS infection, actually.
Huh.
Poor guy.
Yeah.
It's funny that he's, in this episode where they're towing a very Reagan line on drugs, and he died of a disease that Reagan would not acknowledge.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
I request you transport.
he laughed talking about the AIDS epidemic on TV.
Because he didn't believe it existed, or because he didn't think it was an epidemic?
He didn't think it was an epidemic.
Oh, the sad irony for Mehhh But here is that his very last role was in a movie called Death Spa.
Oh.
Death Spa.
Yep. And then his final television role was called From the Dead of the Night.
Huh.
Amazing electrocution effects here.
Yeah, so this is a really strange thing that doesn't make a lot of sense. It kind of was intriguing. So as a child, I remember watching this, and I thought it was kind of cool, a special effect of aliens could electrocute each other, but it really does nothing for the plot here.
24th century Pikachus?
Yeah, a little late there.
I know I did not see this as a kid. I don't remember when the first time I saw it was. But I mean, in 1988, to the extent that I understood what drugs were, or, illegal drugs, it was just something to be very scared of.
Yes.
It was, there was a lot of Saturday morning stuff about it that were like reverse engineered versions of the Thriller video, where
That's a good point.
the mutated Michael Jackson would offer you drugs.
If we're talking about how we kind of viewed this as a kid or that sort of thing, when did you find out about drugs, and did you find out that they were bad? And, if you were watching this, would you assume that they were acting like people who were under the influence of drugs? I don't even remember when I learned about drugs.
Didn't know what somebody who was high looked like, really. I just knew that, drugs were so bad And it was more like, monsters that were coming to get you almost.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It was more, yeah.
And the police just seemed strangely preoccupied that if you knew about drugs, the police knew about you. That was kind of the message that
Well, it wasn't even the police. It was like McGruff and...
Oh, yeah.
Who here is a DARE graduate?
I think
Raising hands. You didn't graduate from DARE?
I didn't either.
Yeah, I don't...
I should have, but I didn't attend school in 6th grade, so I wouldn't.
Oh, okay. Do they still do DARE?
I don't know.
Okay.
We should clarify for the larger audience. DARE was a to keep kids off drugs program. I don't remember. It was an acronym, which I don't. Drugs Awareness Resistance Education is what it stood for. And it was a lot of cops that drove around in drug seizure vehicles that looked really cool with DARE spray painted on the side.
Well, I remember when I was in the 6th grade, they had us write to our legislature to say, hey, can you send out a DARE educator to our 6th grade classroom, because we weren't going to get one, and our teachers very much wanted us to have one. So, we put our writing to work, and we got a DARE officer in.
Because your teacher could have got out of teaching for a couple hours. A great paper.
Probably.
One way to look at it.
So were you still on post at that time, or?
No, I was here. I was in Puyallup, but we had just moved to Puyallup, and it wasn't, because I moved to Puyallup in 4th grade, and it was 6th grade that we did DARE.
So I'm curious, Nigel, you were the baby of the bunch here.
Very much so.
Was the DARE program around in school when you were a kid?
Well, I was homeschooled, so...
Oh, okay.
I guess you could say I had a home DARE.
A home DARE?
Fun.
Did they dare you to do things?
No,
I'm joking.
Thank you very much. No, it was introduced slowly to me, the concept and idea. We largely didn't talk about it earlier because I had a cousin who was impounded for selling heroin.
Oh, yeah, that'll do it.
So, yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting because, I mean, the whole idea of the 80s concept of drugs was criminalize it and abstain. So don't take it. And one of the big arguments about addiction is that people take drugs to feel good. Well, why do they need to feel good? What unmet need is going on in their lives that they have to turn to drugs to feel good? And that's kind of the new modern concept of drug treatment today. But back in the 80s, there's a lot of stigma. Oh, you're a drug user. You are a bad person. You're a criminal. And so now you have, to bring it back to this episode, we're in a conference room where you have two people who are obviously very well off and two people who are very, very much at wearing, threadbare clothes, arguing about the fate of this quote-unquote medication. And no one really seems to understand what's going on at the moment, but in the episode, it's going to be revealed that this Felicium is a drug, and that they're addicts, and we're judging them as washed up, has-been nobodies that are completely dependent and being manipulated by these rich folks.
I was going to ask, what was drug culture dictating right around this time? Because now, you see certain drugs as rich people drugs and certain drugs as, poor people drugs. And here, it seems like it's the poor people that are addicted. Do you think that's any kind of social commentary on what was going on at the time?
Well, in the 80s, cocaine was a rich person drug.
Yes.
Except for crack, which would just...
Yeah, and crack was a derivative, and that was the poor person's drug.
Had a much higher sentence than any other form of cocaine as far as criminal penalties.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Well, you can definitely see just by the way these two groups of people are dressed, there's a class issue going on here.
Right.
Escort them to their quarters.
And so it is only the poor people that are affected by this
So
drug?
what the deal is that it was these two races on a planet that had succumbed to a plague, and they figured out how to make a cure for the plague that was also narcotic. So although the plague is cured, the drug makes them, when the drug starts to wear off, they begin to think they still have the plague.
Mm-hmm.
There's no record of it.
Actually, this episode reminds me more of the modern day opiate crisis, where I'm in pain, so I need to take Oxycontin, and all of a sudden I'm hooked to the painkiller.
So did you ask me to be on this episode as the non-druggie here? No. What is the non-druggie's opinion of? I'm just kidding.
Well, you're implying that everybody else in the room is taking drugs, and that is certainly not the case.
No.
The interesting thing about this episode, we've been talking a lot about the concept of the episode, not about the scenes itself, so we apologize for that. One of the original concept of this episode, that the Enterprise, the intention was for the Enterprise to just accidentally interrupt a drug deal. That's exactly where it was going to go. It was influenced by Maurice Hurley. Like I said, he had recently worked on Miami Vice, and that was the whole thing. And then they, of course, now they padded it around this context of, okay, there's two planets, one is a seller, one's a consumer.
I do not mean to insult you.
So now they're at a point now where they're asking Picard to mediate, where they can just get a little bit of this medication, which actually surprisingly looks like unroasted coffee beans if you look at them.
I haven't actually seen the...
They haven't shown it quite yet.
Okay.
Oh yeah, they're getting there. So they're basically negotiating with Picard. It's like, well, all the payment went down with the ship, but we have the drugs. Could you please negotiate with the sellers to just give us a dose so we can get over these shakes?
Orange juice.
Yes! Or Pog.
Pog is pink.
Pog is pink?
Mm-hmm.
Here you are, Mother. So nice to just be able to sit on the porch and look at the stars.
Lounge seductively on this chair.
Why, Captain? Welcome to this room you've given us on on your ship. Won't you sit down?
I'm glad you're comfortable. I've come to seek your
Yeah, I'm glad you're comfortable.
We cannot agree.
Wait. Let the captain speak. We want
Yes, let me speak. Thank you.
So these folks are in a very uncomfortable position because the payment for the Felicium was lost in the explosion of the ship. So they're upset. They're supposed to deliver this cargo of goods and whatnot back to their home planet. So they're stuck in the position of like, we got all these drugs but no money to sell. What's going on?
We agreed to permit
Is Felicium related to Latinum at all?
No, it's just
I don't think he could ingest latinum safely.
Oh, talk to Morn.
Yeah.
Deep Space Nine, he did. Made him go bald.
Transport mind if we're present while you open the cargo.
Ooh, they're gonna
Wouldn't that
open
be
the cargo.
disturbing if your grandmother was wearing a dress like she is?
A little bit, yeah.
You know, I try not to think about my grandmother that way. Alright, hey, there we go. That looks like a car part.
Probably was.
What does that device do?
What goes in your car?
Measures the
Oh, no, those look like beans, not coffee.
Yeah.
Like,
Pinto.
Bean beans.
yeah.
Pinto beans?
Very potent.
Some sort of lentil.
We've improved our.
It's like, what are we having for dinner? Beans. Ugh, what kind of beans? Bean beans. Ugh.
5 rooms this size.
But now with our improved processes, this one barrel contains over 4 billion doses. I would estimate
4
billion? 4 billion doses?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a lot of doses.
Picard just like, shut up, Data. Data tried to pull a Spock there.
Yeah.
Oh.
But never more than 72 hours.
And then the symptoms return. Yes.
So every 3 days, someone needs to take a dose of the substance. And this is on a planetary scale, too.
Yeah.
An unusual disease. Virulent, extremely persistent, yet I can't isolate it.
So she's actually trying to doctor it.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
We've therefore concentrated on treatment, finding new ways to improve the potency and purity.
They could have done a much better job of being defensive about that, just going like, well, you don't know anything about our biology at all. So is it just surprising that you can't find the cause of the disease?
We need in exchange for this.
Fascinating.
Well, what I don't understand is why are they even volunteering to talk to them at all about this? It's like, hey, this is our business. Thanks a lot for the rescue.
Yeah.
See you later.
One of life's little ironies, Captain.
But one would be fools not to take advantage of. It's mutually beneficial.
The Arnarans provide us with the necessities of life.
There it
And we
is.
provide them with the necessities of living.
Okay.
So she just said it. They give us goods and services, and we give them drugs.
The symbiosis
Wouldn't
of
that
this
imply
episode.
that the Narans would be better dressed, though?
Huh.
If they're providing all the goods and services, must be a pretty thriving
True.
Oh.
industry. But
Can I help?
No.
Hurry up, man.
Well, why aren't the suppliers doing this? They know how to do it. Oh.
They probably don't like to. Well, they don't even like to watch.
And we're snowed.
Yeah.
Let me show you how to do the Thorazine shuffle.
You're feeling better.
Yes.
We don't know if they're snowed. Isn't snowed only
Fine.
relative to cocaine?
Oh, it's become, well, at least where I am employed, if a person is over-medicated, that's kind of what I've been saying.
Okay.
Oh, this person is over-medicated. Or
Here she
snowed.
is, all pissed.
Yeah.
I was wondering when the doc would come in and...
Its full effect on Honorian physiology, but I know how to interpret physical reaction.
The Anarans recovering.
The Jean and Romus are feeling fine.
Here's what I don't understand.
Felician's a narcotic.
Should Crusher be upset that someone's taking drugs in the future?
I don't think she should, no. And I don't think Season 7 Dr. Crusher would be.
Because we're very much reflecting our 1980s social values in the first season. But I mean, Star Trek in the first season was all about, oh my gosh, the universe is so not human. Let us judge you.
I mean,
because
their
of
best commentary on it was in the very first episode with those soldiers that had the drug packets
That's
on
right.
their shirts.
Right.
Yeah.
200 years ago, Ornara was stricken by a devastating plague. Their advanced technology could provide no solution. Somehow, and there was limited information on this point, a cure
So
was
Data's
found
giving us a
in
history lesson.
Rekka, and which rejected all attempts at cultivation on Ornara. In any case, a trading situation developed which still exists.
A nice arrangement for the break-in.
And for the Ornara, without the medicine, they would all die.
No, they wouldn't. Despite what the Honarans have been saying, it is not enough.
So
It wasn't-
let's just ignore the medical history of their civilization for 300 years and just bring in our consultant, Dr. Crusher, who just found out about this in the last 20 minutes.
And that was the other thing, is that, like, withdrawal, everybody was like, you know, if you're strong enough, you can handle withdrawal.
Yeah.
Nobody dies from withdrawal.
Whoa, well, in the show maybe. In real life, that's a different story.
Oh, exactly. That's what I'm saying, but they would never say to you, you know, that you could, you know, die from withdrawal symptoms. They're just like, no, if you're strong, if you're a weak person, you'll continue to do drugs. If you're a strong person, number one, you won't give into the temptation to do it, and even then, you know, when it's time to stop, you'll get off of it. Which is why so many kids tried, you know, hard drugs, because they were like, you know, I'll be okay. I'll realize when enough is enough, and I can just stop. Because they didn't really talk about how hard it is to quit.
Yeah. So now we enter in the other component that is very annoying about Star Trek, the Prime Directive.
Prime Directive.
So here's what's happening is that Tasha says this is wrong. And Picard says, yes, it might be wrong, but we don't have a right to correct them. And we don't have a right to inform them of what we discovered.
of them, yes. May I speak to them? Yes, Lieutenant Young.
So, if this is a...
Wait 5 minutes, don't disengage, ask me the exact same thing you asked me 5 minutes before.
I'll catch you in a few minutes.
What I don't understand is that the Onarans here are supposed to be the scientific and industrially advanced culture. The ones who are the drug addicts, and yet their comm signals are so terrible.
Yeah.
You'd think they'd be right on it.
It's the sun. The solar flares.
Oh, it's the suns. Thank you. Thank you, Nigel, for providing...
And this was another big part of this is that Crusher's mother is much more qualified to speak to Wesley on the topic of narcotic addiction than Tasha is. But in the 80s, I mean, her speech is great, but it's like in the 80s, they always wanted to have a third party come in. Parents would bring in a specialist to talk to their kids on TV shows.
Oh, jeez.
All of the sitcoms did this.
Almost like an intervention.
Yeah, and that's what the DARE program was, is that it was like parents didn't want to talk to their children about drugs. They wanted, some adult that their kids would, quote, look up to.
The cast was really angry about this scene right here. I've actually got a quote here from the producer, Maurice Hurley. He says that talking about this Just Say No speech, he took the blame for it. He jammed that in. I jammed that in over everybody's objections. They were screaming on the. They were screaming on the set. The actors were screaming. They were puking. They were yelling. Yeah, they were puking. What? That's what I said. We can't do this. I said, no, there are kids out there. If we're going to make that a message, let's make the message. If it offends adults or bothers some kids, then by God, we're going to do it. So that was in regards to Tasha's speech to Wesley of, well, people take drugs to feel good. Nobody volunteers to become addicted to a substance.
Well, how about... The other thing was that was also saying, it's kind of too bad Denise Crosby decided to leave the show, that she was the cool character.
Yeah.
She's the one that they assumed that kids would look up to and want to hear what she had to say about that. So if she'd stayed, she might have had some other cool, neat things to do.
Well, she's the cool character, or is she the character that came from the really messed up planet and would have the most say on the matter?
I think she had the most say in the matter. I mean, she cited her own planet as evidence of how bad things could get.
I don't know why the producers would think that it would be Tasha that all the kids would look up to and not David.
Okay, here we go. I'm sorry, Jim, for interrupting. So, basically, the deal has gone bad. And this guy is so upset that they can't get their medicine that he's holding Riker hostage, essentially.
I'd have that face too if somebody grabbed me there.
Yeah, I made that face in the bathroom the other day.
And this just happened to Riker in the previous episode.
Oh, did it?
In Arsenal of Freedom, yes.
Yeah,
he got
that's
stuck in a
right.
force field, just like this.
Well, then he didn't have to rehearse that face. That's
another 80s trope. It's like, a man cop could feel on me. Does this mean I'm gay now? Ah!
That's terrible.
It is, but that's something they would do on it.
One of the critical reviews is that Riker was compromised in 2 episodes in a row, just as you were saying.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that I can.
And actually 3 episodes because Skin is Evil's coming
Oh, yeah!
out.
The same thing happens.
This is not Riker's run.
I'm so glad they stopped using that shot of the Enterprise after a while.
But this one that we just saw?
Where it's just jamming along, from the side. I don't know how many of you have seen Starman, but in that they show the Voyager probe flying along with Can't Get No Satisfaction by the Rolling Stones playing. So every time I see the Enterprise doing that, I just keep wanting
One of the things that the director, Wynne Phillips, recalled about this episode was that there's continuity issues throughout filming. So with character motivations changing from one scene to the next, because of fast changes to the scripts, actors were often acting scenes that they had not seen the scripts for just before the final take.
Ooh.
So they didn't really have a chance to rehearse and get the motivation for what they were doing. They're just like, here's a script, read it, we're filming in a few minutes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it was, just the production quality of the what went on behind the filming. It was plaguing the show for the first couple of seasons.
Somehow, their ancestors realized that it was a narcotic.
They broke the cycle of addiction and never told the owner.
Oh, there's the "We're better than you" speech.
Yep.
I hate these in Star Trek.
My guess is that this.
Yeah, we're guilty. What are you gonna do about it?
We would have gotten away with it if it weren't for you and your stupid starship.
What are you going to do?
Are you going to tell them?
You're not going to tell, are you?
So what was the big reveal? That this was
That
not
the
an
plague,
addictive
the plague
substance?
is over. No, it is an addictive substance.
Oh.
There is
But
no
they
plague.
beat it.
There's no plague.
They somehow beat the addiction, whereas the rest of the planet did not. Although you wonder, there must be some people in that other population that aren't addicted,
Right.
but probably aren't recognized by this group.
Well, if you think it's a plague going on, you probably encourage people to take the medicine anyway. You're not sick, but we don't want the plague to spread anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, send your angry emails about flu shots now.
Oh my gosh.
Oh no!
Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. So, I actually do have a question for you, Nigel. I know that you do. What is it? What's your martial art? You do kickboxing? Taekwondo. So, the reason why I'm going to go down this tangent with you is this. So, these Anarans have this ability, when they touch you, they can assault you with electricity.
I cannot. Yes.
Yeah, you cannot.
You can't electrify anybody?
So, here's my question to you. If human beings had that special power of grabbing and incapacitating somebody by touching you,
right?
Do you think the need for martial arts would go away, or the need for martial arts would increase?
Probably increase, and then people would wear cellophane. But no, if it seems to be transmitted by prolonged touching, and martial arts, you have wrist grabbing escapes, and you have evasions. It would look different. It would be more emphasis on different arts, but
yeah, the emphasis would probably be "Don't touch me."
Very
There's a lot
much
of
so.
deflective moves.
Deflective, leaning back.
That's cool. So we're in the scene now. This script was really poor. Great concept, poor delivery. So all of a sudden they're in the cargo bay. They're ready to beam back down to the planet. They've worked out a deal where they're going to give this stash of drugs for free, and they're going to work out a payment schedule later. And then behind them, you can see these two pod-like coil things. Picard said, "We'll make you new engine parts." They put them on the platform, and now Picard has said, I'm not going to help you anyway. I'm just going to keep these." Because Picard wants the society to figure it out on their own how to help themselves.
Quite possibly. If you withhold those coils, you'll be disrupting the stability of both our planets.
And interfering with a trade agreement that has lasted for generations. What of your Prime Directive?
Threaten them with the Prime Directive.
But the Prime Directive stands because the default mode of the Prime Directive is don't do anything. Don't mess with it. And this is actually where it splits from 1980s culture. If you remember, we were everywhere trying to deal with the local affairs of governments and their drug policy. So here, the Federation is different from that aspect, is that we're not going to participate in your drug culture. We're not going to help you out. We've saved your life, but we're not going to maintain your industry. Whereas in 1980s America, we had people everywhere. So military, CIA, running these operations to manipulate the local politics of governments to either build up or break down power structures based off of the cocaine trade.
I don't know how you remember that. I was busy playing with My Little Pony, so...
Oh, well, this is stuff I learned later on. So, I mean, watching this as a kid, I'm like, eh. Oh, did you see that? Yard wave goodbye.
Yeah.
Oh.
That was her
That's
last...
a true goodbye, yeah.
That was her last shot where she waved goodbye. She broke character and waved to the camera. I almost want to go back and watch that again.
We might have to.
Yeah, you know what?
Not right. Yeah, when it's over.
When we get to the end, I want to rewind it and freeze it on that frame and say my goodbyes. Even though we see her again in the next episode. I'm so confused.
Well, Denise Crosby is still alive, right?
She is.
Okay.
She's
on The Walking Dead right now, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. She's 60 years old now.
Oh, that's not old at all.
And here's Picard mansplaining it to Beverly. What a terrible phrase.
Yeah. Which explains the
look at her face. All right.
Fine, I'll just let him talk at me. Let him think he's right.
No matter how well intentioned, that interference
Like, you know what? I'm not coming back next season either.
Is that true? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, I've got more commentary about that, but it's going to wait for Skin of Evil. So tune in.
What I'm really
next
thinking
week.
is smash the patriarchy.
Resume.
I'm going to be the captain of my own medical ship, and he ain't even going to be allowed in there. It's going to be me and that sexy little Dax girl.
I don't care.
What?
Wait, what?
Sorry.
Was she on that?
No.
Oh, okay. So somehow the episode resolved itself.
Yep.
What happened?
So they didn't give them the coils. Their freighters won't work. They can't do that drug trade anymore.
Yeah, so they basically...
Surprised.
They got their last fix.
Yep.
Surprised it didn't have an ending where it's like, but Captain, we didn't do anything. Didn't we, Mr. Rika? Didn't we?
That's basically what he looks like he's thinking right now.
Yeah, pretty much. So they're leaving. Oh, those must be the two planets right there.
And we forgot about the sun.
The one blows up.
So there we go. That is the conclusion of Symbiosis. Now, I'm going to do something a little different here. I'm rewinding the DVD, and I'm going to pause it on Yar waving goodbye, because this is something that I'd never actually noticed before. I was reading about it last night when I was doing research for the episode. So we're all traveling back in time. There's the mansplaining speech about the Prime Directive, and Beverly's just like, oh.
You know what she's most famous? I mean, but besides this, what her other most famous thing is?
What's that?
She's a puppeteer.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And she worked on the Dark Crystal and Labyrinth, and she has a scene in Muppets Take Manhattan.
All right, so I've queued it up there in the... There. All right, so let's see here. I'm going to just step through it. Step. There's Picard and Beverly walking
You should give them the
out.
timestamp where it is when you pause it, too, so people can see it.
This is timestamp 42:12. And... Wait, I thought I saw it.
Yeah, she kind of had to lean over to get to the wave past Picard's hand.
Oh, I'm going to have to go back. Boy, I'm...
So more like 42:10.
42:10. Alright. Alright, there she is. Alright. Guy walks past. Picard's head is blocking her body. There she is. Other guy crosses the path. And... Clear shot. Oh, there's her. Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
That's the very last scene. She's got her arm up and everything. Aw. Well, thank you for your service, Denise. It was not long enough. But we'll go into why she left and how she felt about how she left in Skin of Evil. But this is it right here. There we go. Well, So, how many Just Say No's would you give this episode, Jem?
I was gonna go Feliciums, but I don't know. I didn't really get much out of the episode, so probably a two. Say No's.
2 Just Say No's?
Yeah. I mean, real life, yes, please just say no. So, just kidding. Yeah, 2. I mean, it was an interesting episode to hear the backstory on, and that it was Denise Crosby's last episode. But as far as the storyline, the general storyline of Star Trek in general, I don't think it really contributed to it much. So.
Yeah. Kind of so you felt like it didn't really have any weight in continuity with the rest of the show.
Right. But then again, I don't know much about the show, so it could have very well contributed to the story arc.
Not that I noticed, so
Okay.
I think you're spot on. How about you, Nigel?
I'd give it a 3. I really don't like the moral messaging hitting me in the face when I'm just sitting down to watch and enjoy some Star Trek. I mean, the concept was interesting. I still cannot get past the technologically advanced people who pretty much supply all of the living resources to the other people dressed like country bumpkins.
Yeah.
That was a little hard to swallow. And I don't know, the Prime Directive is just the most confusing thing, because technically they're intervening by rescuing the people from their ship in the first place. But when it comes to helping them out, nope, then that's clearly over the line. But I mean, it's not the worst Star Trek episode I've ever seen, so 3 or 4 Just Say No's.
Okay. Patrick, how about you?
Oh, I want to give it 1. It's such a forgettable episode. Like, I don't remember having watched it before I watched it for the review at all. I must have seen it, but it made no impression upon me in the past. I mean, part of the idea of the show is to recall how these episodes made you feel as a kid. And it's like, I think if this had been on when I was a kid, I would have gone and done something else. Because there's people standing around and talking. There's not really any action scenes in it other than the computer acting weird with the blue lightning. Yeah. And so it gets 1 Just Say No.
And Sasha?
I'm going to have to give it 1 Just Say No. I agree with Nigel. The moral messaging, it just drove me bonkers as a kid. I thought it was dumb. I got all that stuff at school. I'm like, I know. Oh, we're going into this. The hand electricity effect was really cool, but it didn't do anything for me. Other than just like it was frosting. It did absolutely nothing for the Star Trek universe. That's what Jem said. The only thing that's good about this episode is that it exercised the Prime Directive. It kind of gave some boundaries to that, where, well, we can just opt out and not help you. So go F yourself. We got the Prime Directive.
Right.
Is the Prime Directive ever really fleshed out and made specific? Because it's refreshing to know that I'm not the only one that's confused by the Prime Directive, because I feel like they keep fudging it a little bit.
If a society doesn't have warp capabilities, then you're not allowed to interfere with them on any level.
But for some reason, they rescued them, so that would have been a violation of the Prime Directive.
Yeah.
So this goes into a bigger problem with continuity in Star Trek, Jem, is that they don't fill in the gaps unless it helps the story along.
So it's the sci-fi problem where you insert XYZ problem and you come up with an explanation for it later.
Yeah. Well, even the original Star Trek, before they had the Federation, they called it United Earth Ship, and a couple other names for it before they came out with the name. We are a member of the United Federation of Planets, and then all of a sudden you just had this mythology just kind of being added on to every couple of episodes. It's actually one of the biggest complaints with Star Trek Discovery is that a lot of the myth and lore and canon has been written for the show. So you have a problem where the universe is kind of getting crowded out by all these really strange continuity flawed arguments. So anyway, I'm getting on a tangent here. So.
Well, just really quickly, since we are going back a little bit to how we viewed it as kids, I thought it was really interesting, the whole controversial, not really controversial, but that scene that a lot of the actors didn't want to do, and it was because they're Gene Roddenberry said that, hey, there are kids that are going to be watching this, so we should put that message in. So going back to it being family friendly.
Yeah, it wasn't Jean, it was Maurice.
Oh, okay.
But still, I track what you're saying. Well, the show always tried to stay family friendly.
Right.
That you bring up a good point. Well, there it is, folks. Thank you so much for listening. Patrick, what's our email address?
Our email address is nextgenfirstgenpod@gmail.com. Let us know how you felt about the war on drugs when you were a kid, and if this episode of Star Trek formed your opinion of that. We would love to know that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that would be funny. That would be a really interesting story.
And I've noticed too that we're getting into deeper and deeper issues as these episodes come up. Like we talked about Worf's culture, we talked about the actor Dexter Clay, and I almost kind of feel like a Prime Directive paper's coming up. Because it influences so much. So if you have any thoughts or opinions about the episodes coming up, feel free to write in, and we will share your thoughts on the air. With that, thank you so much for coming, and have a wonderful day.
Good night, everybody.
Why am I introducing this?
So you're the guest.
So Sascha, what's a Star Trek
Hi,
Next
I am the
Generation?
guest.
So Sascha, what is Star Trek Next Generation? We're only in the first season right now, so there's a lot that's coming down the line.
Seek us out at Next Generation's First Generation at iTunes, Google Play, and YouTube. Music credits include Electric Car by Poddington Bear. Music heard in this podcast can be found at freemusicarchive.org. Audio engineering by Sascha Shouties. Chief Meme Maker and episode cover credit goes to Matthew Kirshner. Logo and graphic art design credit goes to David Clawwitter. And special thanks to Patrick Delmore for working with other podcasts to make sure the good word gets out.
Do you have a podcast that you think people should be listening to? Send us your promos and we'll play them on the show. If you'd like to email the show, you can email us at nextgenfirstgenpod@gmail.com. I've been Patrick Delmore.
And this is Sascha Shouties. Thank you very much for listening, and have a wonderful day.
Good night.